What's up, everybody? It's Keisha, and I wanted to come on and talk about The Hate You Give. It's a movie that's about police brutality towards black men. So there are spoiler alerts in this video, so if you haven't seen it or if you plan on seeing it and you don't want any information about it, then maybe you should watch it after you see it. But anyway, so it's basically a young guy, and the star of the movie, her name is Star, they get pulled over by the police and he ends up getting shot. And the whole movie goes on about how, it's basically like a Black Lives Matter movie, and how, it was about his life, the life that he lived, never mind that he was a drug dealer, which in fact, he wasn't being pulled over for selling drugs or anything to do with drugs. So that, rightfully should not have been involved in the case. Nevertheless, the movie portrays him as a victim of police brutality. The issue that I have is that it sends a message that you should be able to talk back to police, that you should be able to not follow the orders of a police officer. When an officer gives a command to you, it is a lawful order. They have the right bestowed upon them by the state to give lawful commands. Now, whether you think that you're being pulled over for something insignificant and it really wasn't that big of a deal, because he was pulled over for signaling without or changing lanes without signaling. Okay, yeah, is that kind of insignificant? Yeah, sure, it could be. However, it's still a law violation. You're still breaking the law, so he has every right to pull you over. He came to the car, the police officer came to the car, he wasn't belligerent, he wasn't demeaning or whatever. Right away, the young man had an attitude and he was being belligerent to the police officer. That is not how you handle authority. So then he gets pulled out of the car. The cop is like, okay, well, fine, get out of the car. You got all this lip and talk, get out of the car. So he gets out of the car. He tells him to put his hands on the top of the car and don't move. That is what he said. He reaches into the car to get a hairbrush. Why you feel like you need to brush your hair at this pertinent time when you're being pulled over by a police officer and he's already told you not to move? Why you feel the need to brush your hair at this very moment is A, stupid, B, irresponsible, and C, maybe you don't even need to be driving at this point if you feel like you need to reach into the car and get a hairbrush when you're being told not to move by a police officer and you're out of the car and your hands are on top of the hood or on top of the top of the car. So none of the movie addresses the fact that he was disobedient to the cop. None of it. It's they paint the story as if he did everything that he was supposed to do and he was shot for no reason. Now, what I'm not trying to say is that I'm not a police officer, so I don't know if they're trained to kill or how that process goes. But I do know is that what I teach my children is that you follow authority. And if you have followed authority and that authority figure disrespects you or does something wrong, then it is your duty to come to your parents and tell us, and so that we can go and handle that situation for you. Not to take the law into your own hands, because A, you don't know what you're doing, and B, you could be wrong. You haven't lived enough life to know how to handle a situation like that properly. You get the badge number and then you handle it the next day at the precinct. You're not going to get justice in the street. So the movie, it teaches It teaches you that you can say anything that you want, and no matter what, if it's a white cop and he's telling you to do something, that you don't have to follow the directions. It did not address the fact of what we saw in the movie, of him being belligerent, of the young man being belligerent to the police officer, as a problem. It did not address that at all. So what kind of message does that send? It sends a message that says, you don't have to you don't have to follow the law of a police officer, but if it's a white cop and he shoots you, then it's automatically their fault. It completely gives the person being pulled over, or the person that's doing the violation, the right to complain and not have any responsibility for their actions. What type of society do you want to live in, where you don't feel like people should be responsible for their actions and be accountable? This is what I want to ask Black people. We're fighting. Do you want respect given out of pity or guilt, or do you want true respect, where people respect you just because of your accomplishments and because of what you bring to society and how you make the world better? What kind of respect do you want? Because if you are teaching that, you are to be respected because you have this black skin, or you are to be not respected because you have white skin, or you're to be respected because your people went through slavery. Well, it's a bunch of people histories that have gone through slavery. So what type of respect do you want? That's my question. Do you want it out of guilt or pity, or do you want it out of accomplishments? That's my question.